Hello and welcome back to Bits and Bobs. In today's video we're going to go through every single Jubilee coin ever released, from the very first Jubilee coin way back centuries ago right up to the fairly recent Jubilee, Platinum Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II. So let's jump into it now and show you every single Jubilee coin ever released. So then, the first Jubilee coin comes in the reign of Queen Victoria in the year 1887 for Queen Victoria's Golden Jubilee. Now many things happened this year in coinage to mark the Jubilee. The most important of which was, of course, the new portrait of Queen Victoria, as we can see here, aptly named the Jubilee head, replacing, as we can see there, the old portrait, which was the young head of Queen Victoria. For her Jubilee year and 4 years afterwards, the Jubilee portrait featured on coins. The crown coin was also revived for the Jubilee, having not been made since the 1840s, before the Jubilee year crown was struck. Now, of course, all coins that year featured the Victoria Jubilee portrait. This one here, though, is a new denomination issued the Jubilee year. This is a double florin coin, so worth 2 florins or 4 shillings. It was made only for the same 4 years which the Jubilee head featured, and after that discontinued, as it was not a very popular denomination, but was meant to be sort of a good coin to be brought in to mark the Jubilee. So there we go, these are still legal tender at 1/5 of a pound sterling, as are the crowns, still legal tender at 1/4 of a pound. So you can still spend Victoria Jubilee coinage, those two at least. The others you cannot. We have here the Jubilee half crown, as I'll just get to show you now, get out of the thing. So the design was changed from what you can see there on the left to this. So a very lovely design indeed, brought out for Victoria's Golden Jubilee. And of course there is the Jubilee portrait once again. Equally, the florin design was changed to another lovely design here. There on the left you can see the before this, and here is the 1887 design, or the Jubilee florin design, the same as on the double florin. Very nice coin once again. We then have the shilling. Now we can see on the left a pair of sixpences and shillings, so they both have had this very similar same-ish design before the Jubilee, and then for the Jubilee year they both featured this design to the reverse, and to the obverse, of course you know it, the Jubilee portrait. Very cool indeed. And then we have the threepence, which was the smallest silver denomination, to feature the Jubilee portrait. We can see there, this is the Jubilee year threepence, featuring Queen Victoria's Golden Jubilee portrait. There we go. Now interestingly, and I'm not quite sure why, do comment down below if you know, but the penny, halfpenny and farthing of 1887 did not feature the Jubilee head, rather featuring the same portrait as usual, and only changing in 1993 after the Jubilee head was removed. Now, to sum up Queen Victoria's Jubilee coinage, of course, there's a few denominations I'm sure you're thinking I'm missing, and that being the sovereign style coins. Now on screen now you can see a coin set of the sovereigns from the Jubilee year, featuring the 5 sovereign or quintuple sovereign, the double sovereign, full sovereign, and half sovereign. Now in my own personal collection I only have the half sovereign from this Jubilee year, as we can see here. A lovely design indeed on this Jubilee half sovereign, the Jubilee portrait featured on, of course, the whole set of gold coins, and as I showed you, the full set of silver coins, just not on the bronze coins. Now then, on to the next monarch, which was, well, the next monarch was Edward VII, but Edward VII did not have any Jubilees, as he reigned only 9 years. Then on to George V, who was crowned in 1910, and so then in 1935 he had his Silver Jubilee. And here is the coin released for the occasion. So it had been since the 1890s, since the last Jubilee, and the nation was in a massive state of celebration for the Jubilee. Almost every town and village was decked out completely with Jubilee decorations and celebrations for the Silver Jubilee of King George V. This crown was released to mark the occasion. We can see there the date 1935, the denomination crown, and here we have a portrait of King George as Saint George, and he is on the horse slaying the dragon, as with the famous George and the Dragon story. So quite cool design. This has an edge inscription which reads Decus et Tutamen Anno Regni XXV, meaning an ornament and a safeguard in the 25th year of reign, of course his Jubilee. And then to the obverse here we can see the king himself, a lovely large depiction of his portrait that was done by Bertram McKennell. This is the standard portrait, so no special portrait was released for the coronation, just the standard one though, used on the obverse of his Jubilee crown. But a lovely coin, and going with the Jubilee crown of Victoria makes a nice sort of Jubilee set there of crowns. After George V was King Edward VIII, who only reigned for a matter of months, and so there was no Jubilee. After him was King George VI, and again there was no Jubilee. So we then come on to Queen Elizabeth II, and well into her reign, her first Jubilee, as of course is standard for the monarchs, is 25 years, which she celebrated in 1977, with this coin here, Queen Elizabeth II's Silver Jubilee crown. So it had been over 50 years since the last Jubilee, and once again, celebrations take place all up and down the country. Now here we have the coin, released in 1977, a similar design. As you can see so far, they've all been someone on horseback, a tradition that would continue on some of them. A little spoiler for you there. But we can see there the Queen herself. This is actually the obverse, by the way. So these two, this is the reverse here, and then there's been a portrait to the obverse. This is the main design, so I'll start with this side. This is the main design here on the reverse. We've got the crown, a bird, and the just lovely floral decorations all the way around the side. Really nice design. And then what's extra special about this coin is there's a special Jubilee. So we had a Jubilee portrait here, no Jubilee portrait here, but look at this for a Jubilee portrait. Not just a bust of the face, as you know, but it's on a horseback, as we can see here. So a horseback portrait of Her Majesty with a big legend around. So a very cool coin, released for the first Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II. Now, as you know, Elizabeth II had a record-breaking reign, celebrating many Jubilees. Now, one rumour to dispel, the Queen of course did celebrate her Ruby Jubilee in 1992, and often people think that this is the Ruby Jubilee coin. However, as you can see there, the dates at the bottom is 1953 to 1993. So this coin marks 40 years, not since she was crowned queen, but since the coronation. Or rather, not since she became queen, but since she was crowned queen at the coronation. So this is the Ruby Jubilee, the Ruby anniversary of the coronation. So this is a coronation range coin, not a Jubilee coin. The next Jubilee coin would come in 2002. This bunk pack was released, and by this time, of course, these ones were never really put in any packaging of the sort because that wasn't how it was done back then. But this was the first sort of bunk pack of a Jubilee coin. So you can see there the Golden Jubilee United Kingdom crown. Now opening it up, we can see there is the young queen, and we have some pictures and some information in the bunk pack, different years of the queen in her reign. And then if we zoom back in here, we can see the coin, a very lovely one. So this is the reverse. Now, interestingly, they do like to buck traditions on this. So the reverse here has a portrait of the queen rather than any other sort of design. An absolutely splendid portrait. Look at that. A really great detail. So this is a lovely coin. This portrait is absolutely outstanding. Imagine if this was the portrait on coins just in your change. A true beauty there. But that's the reverse. The obverse, so the portrait side, is actually this. So once again, I'd say they're bucking traditions, but they've kept this tradition. As we can see, I'll turn these over again just so we can see. So far, all the Jubilee crowns have horseback, and this is no exception. And there is the Queen on her Golden Jubilee coin on horseback. Very, very nice design, and there's the date 2002, the year of the Golden Jubilee. Also released this year was a Jubilee Sovereign. We have the standard design of the Queen, the normal portrait to the obverse, but to the reverse you can see their special design, released for the Jubilee, a hark back to older sovereigns, with a crowned court-at-arms royal shield, a wreath around tied the ribbon, and the date below that. So similar to an old design, and it was designed for the Jubilee coin by Timothy Node. Now then, 10 years later, in 2012, it was the Diamond Jubilee. And the Queen celebrated this very occasion, as with all Jubilees, with loads of street parties and celebrations and flags all up and down the country. And as usual, a coin was released. Here we have it. Now mine, I must say, is in this weird slab, not in a bunk pack, but they were released in bunk packs. This is the Diamond Jubilee crown, and there we go. It features a portrait of the young Queen on one side here, as you can see, and then the date 2012 to the side. Very, very nice. And then bucking traditions, sadly, it must be said, it does not feature a portrait on horseback, but we have got a next best thing, which is a very, very lovely portrait indeed. You know, once again, a special portrait, especially for the Jubilee, just not on horseback. So there we go, there is the Diamond Jubilee crown. Just as was done 1 decade ago, in 2012, another special design adorned the gold sovereign. We have the usual portrait of the Queen to the obverse, and a stylized depiction of St. George slaying the dragon to the reverse. Not the usual one by Benedetto Vespucci, but a special one released for the Diamond Jubilee, and the date there to the left of 2012. Now 5 years later was the Queen's Sapphire Jubilee, 65 years on the throne. We have a coin here released, a £5 coin, with a nice quote there on one side, "My whole life, whether it is long or short, devoted to your service," with the crown next to it, the wording Sapphire Jubilee to the top, and the dates of her 65-year reign at that point to the bottom. And again, we have the usual portrait, although now the later one to the obverse. In 2022 was an absolutely momentous occasion, which was the first ever Platinum Jubilee. A really, really big occasion. And of course, it's very recent, not very recent, but only a few years ago. So I'm sure you remember it well, unlike some of the earlier Jubilees. Here we have the Platinum Jubilee. Now there's a big range of coins for this. This is the £5 coin, as we can see here. Lovely design, look at that beauty. And as you can see there, it was based off of an old William IV half crown. Absolutely splendid though. 70 years, which her reign was at this point. And look, the tradition's back for the final Jubilee coin, The Queen is once again on horseback on the obverse of, does it say it's the obverse? But this is the obverse. So it's a portrait of the Queen, but not just her face, as with some coins, and once again a horseback portrait. And I think it's a lovely, lovely coin indeed. I can show you the sovereign of this year. Well, not the sovereign, this is the quarter sovereign. So you've seen before there were special designs on the sovereign as well for the Jubilee years. Here is a quarter sovereign, and I'll put on screen with it there a picture of the design so you can see it better. But this design was done by Timothy Node and is a special design, once again, the third year or the third decade in a row for the Jubilee, a special design to the gold sovereign and its higher and lower denominations. So this is quite a nice one. I have the usual portrait, standard Jodie Clark to the obverse, and this special design to the reverse. Now for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, the first ever royal themed 50p was issued. We can see here a very simple design, with the big 70 and the Queen's cipher, and then the dates of the Jubilee, or the dates of her reign on this Jubilee, and then the Queen there standardly to the obverse. And there was a special design release for collectors with a horseback portrait, as we can see there. And the circulation variant, the first ever royal 50p in circulation, had this, they all had this design, that had the standard portrait of the Queen. And so there we go. There is an overview of every single Jubilee coin ever released. I would like you to comment down below two things. Number one, which is your favourite Jubilee coin? And number two, when do you think the next Jubilee will be? Do you think we'll get a King Charles III Jubilee coin? Or Jubilee just in general? Or do you think we'll have to wait round to another monarch for another Jubilee? So there we are. Now do comment down below your favourite Jubilee coin. For me, probably it has to be the Sapphire Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II in terms of a commemorative one. But of course, if I could have any of them, I'd have the 5 sovereign of 1887. A very lovely coin indeed. So there we are. Some great coins though, nonetheless. They're all the centuries of history and coronations and jubilees and the monarchy, and always some good history celebrated on coins through these times. Now, as always, please leave a like on the video, comment down below and subscribe, and ring the bell as well. See you next time for some more coins in the future on Bits and Bobs. Bye for now.